Well, we're starting to hear talk now that the NATO meeting is going to cause World War III. They're going to let Ukraine into NATO, and immediately NATO's going to jump into the war, right? Now, I agree that I've told y'all that before the end of the year, 6 months after that, we will be physically in this war over there. We're sending all type of stuff over there. We don't send all these pieces and get them in place. It's like setting up a chess game. You don't set up the pieces unless you're going to play the game, right? We got too much stuff over there. Will Ukraine get into NATO? I don't see how they can right now. Could they get some kind of guarantee out of this meeting? Possibly. But is World War III nuclear bombs going to start flying the day of the NATO meeting? Highly doubtful, right? We're hearing a lot of talk about nuclear stuff, and we're having a lot of strange things going on here in the United States. I agree with it. We had military drills that the National Guard and reserves do train around that time every year, but we saw things that we've never seen before, right? They're doing stuff differently. Satellite phones to senators, which I told you I figured they'd already have them, but obviously they didn't according to what they gave them, right? What are they preparing for? I've told you they know more than we know. They know it before we know. I'm going to say it again. Nobody on YouTube has anybody giving them information of what's going to happen, exactly when it's going to happen when it comes to war or nuclear war stuff. It's just not going to happen because the people in the know that's that high up have security clearances, and they're not going to risk it giving it to a YouTuber. Always remember that. Now, they may have someone that's in the military or used to be in the military, retired, right? Things have changed since they were in there. There's different protocols and all this and that, right? I don't see Ukraine getting into NATO because they're at war, right? You're not supposed to admit a country into NATO while they're at war with another country. Now, we all know that we've changed the definitions of everything here in the past 2-3 years, right? Everything's getting changed. This that used to be law is no longer law, and all this and that, right? Everything's getting changed. Definitions of things are getting changed. Let's say that they do bring Ukraine into NATO. What does that mean? Does it mean Russia's going to start sending nukes off in the air and everybody's going to push the button and it's all going to be over? No, it doesn't mean that. Could that happen? Possibly. Anything's possible, right? If they did let them in, we would send troops in the country over there. That's what would happen. All of NATO would send troops. More of the United States would send troops than any other country, and y'all know what I'm talking about. And then we're physically at war with Russia over a little country that, people are going to say the reason we're helping them now is because of the agreement back in 2013 or 14, right? That we owe it to them to help them. Okay, our president today said, or yesterday said, that we're running out of ammunition to send them, so we're going to send them cluster munitions, right? For y'all that don't know what that is, it's essentially like a shotgun shell, but on a much larger scale, right? It shoots out multiple projectiles. It can airburst, it can all types of stuff. Read up on your history. They've used this stuff all through wars back, Civil War, Revolutionary War, since the invention of weapons. They've used this type of ammunition. Now, what would happen if we're at war in Ukraine? I can't tell you that. I don't know. I don't see it going nuclear. Everybody's so afraid that somebody's going to use a nuclear weapon. July 5th, we were all supposed to be glowing by now, right? Because somebody was going to blow up that nuclear power plant over there. Well, I told y'all on that one, if that thing blew up, it's not going to be a huge scale event. It's not going to be like it blows up and just destroys every country around it. It'll affect the people in the blast zone and in the radiation zone, but you had a bunch of people thinking that thing was going to blow up, and immediately every country that had nuclear weapons was going to start pushing them, and that was the end of it, right? I've told you before, I don't see a use of a nuclear weapon in Ukraine. I don't. Could that mean that some crazy person couldn't hit a button? No, it doesn't. Anybody could do something like that. But as far as a use or a need for a nuclear weapon, I don't see it. I really don't. I've told y'all from the start of this, It looked like Russia wanted to the river, and that was it. You know, yeah, they attacked a little further into Ukraine up around the capital and everything, but they essentially got the area they wanted now, right? That they're fighting over now. They essentially got that. You know, guys, I can't sit here and tell you, no YouTuber can sit here and tell you exactly when a nuclear weapon's going to go off, when this war's going to go with all the countries involved in it. I do not see Ukraine getting into NATO. I see them getting at the most more guarantees that we'll send more stuff, right? Because look at what our president said a couple years ago. Well, a year ago, he said if we send tanks, F-16s, or anything like that, that would be World War III because we're essentially fighting Russia. Well, they changed the definition, right? Now we sent tanks, now we're sending F-16s. We're going to get in this eventually, but I don't see it happening over the next couple of weeks here. I don't. The next big thing that you're going to start seeing on YouTube that people's going to tell you is going to, cause the great collapse, the world's going to go flipped upside down, is the BRICS currency. That, the dollar's fixing to be dead and everybody's switching to the BRICS, and that's going to cause World War III. I don't see that happening either. Now, does people can switch to BRICS? Yes, but what I'm talking about, I don't see it immediately causing some huge collapse here. What that would speed up is the digital dollar. We would start seeing less and less cash, and everybody would start switching over to the digital dollar. That's the plan that they're trying to get to when it comes to money. They want us on the digital dollar, and that could be a quicker way to get us there. We heard by now all the banks should have collapsed in the United States, right? Well, they didn't. What they're trying to do with the bank collapse is the less number of banks in the system, the easier it is to get the digital dollar, because you only have a set amount of banks you're dealing with, right? You don't have hundreds or thousands of different branches. Let's get back on point here with Ukraine and NATO. It's smoke and mirrors. It's a wrestling show. We don't know the outcome, but they already know the outcome, right? It seems like anytime Ukraine says anything, we start sending them more stuff, right? You also got to think back that we started banning Russian ammo before this war broke out. Kind of, if you sit there and think, you kind of can see it all building up, right? Everybody's starting to set their pieces up way back then. But nobody expected this, but the guys who are higher up, they knew what was coming, right? NATO and Ukraine, I don't see it happening. Now, they could change the rules. They could change the laws of how NATO can accept members, and that may happen. I can't sit here and tell you that it's not, but in my personal view, I don't see it happening. I see that we're going to pledge them more money and more equipment, that they're just going to continue getting more and more stuff from us. Now, that doesn't mean they couldn't get let in, but my own view, I don't see it happening. What's your thoughts on it? Do you think they're going to vote and let them in? And if they do get in, do you think that's immediately going to cause every country to start launching nukes? This is a long, drawn-out process. Guys, we are in SHTF right now. We are in it, 100% in it. It's just a long, drawn-out process. Too many people thought it was going to be like a movie. You go to bed, you wake up, and it's Mad Max outside. And that's not where we're at. That's not how it's going to happen. It's going to be long and drawn out, and then when it gets ready to go, then that's when you're going to see the craziness, right? A lot of religious people will tell you all the time, I ain't worried about it. Jesus is coming back any day now. Could all this stuff be biblical? Yes, it could. There's a lot of steps, though, before Jesus comes back if you read your Bible. I've said that before. Some people disagree with me that all these steps have been filled and we're just waiting. I haven't personally seen the Antichrist. Some of y'all may have, but he hasn't come out yet, right? He's supposed to make peace all over the earth, wasn't he? Or convince people, right? That hasn't happened. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think Ukraine is going to get into NATO? Do you think nukes are going to start flying at the NATO meeting? Do you think it's just going to be another thing, and then when nothing happens there, the next big thing people are going to be talking about is the US dollar is going to collapse, and that's going to cause the end of the world? Let me know your thoughts on this. Keep your head on a swivel, be aware of your surroundings at all times, protect yourself and your family at all times. At that moment, you're the only person that can do it. Guys, stay safe, keep prepping, comment on this. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you're not going to subscribe, hit the thumbs down on your way out the door. Stay safe and get prepped.